Jim Norton is not a doctor. He's not an expert. He's not even a good person. The views, opinions, advice, and humor of Jim Norton does not reflect those of any doctor, of SiriusXM, of Opie Radio, or anyone else. They are solely those of Jim Norton, Lyle Chipperson, Edgar Mellencamp, Paul Hargis, and whoever else lives in that chinless head of his. If any of this advice goes wrong, you are the asshole who called a comedian instead of a doctor.
An icon in comedy, a fighter for freedoms, an accomplished entertainer, and a pervert. You've got problems, he's got problems. You've got questions, he's got answers, some of which are good. Call now 866-WOW-1-WOW. That's 866-969-1969. This is the Jim Norton Show.
People tend to like when I hum along with the music. You know, tired of denying my musical abilities. Oh, I just made it for this one. I came home after the radio show this morning. We met with Dopey and I met with Don Wickland, which is always a delight to have Don Wickland there. And we met for a while. Then I went over to do the UFC podcast with Matt. And we had I think, a very good one today. And I'm just getting situated here. And I came home and ordered a salad and had workers here. So I made it. And I'm here. What an interesting... I mean, I'll talk, obviously, if anybody wants to talk about anything, you can call in. And I'll answer any questions you have. But the UFC podcast today, we interviewed Robbie Lawler, and Matt and I yapped a lot. And then Rose Namajunas, I think is how you say her name. She's fighting the co-main event against Robbie Lawler, Tyron Woodley. She's fighting against, and I'm going to fuck this up, Kowalkiewicz, I think is how you say. And Rose Namajunas called in, and she's awesome. I don't know if anybody's ever watched her fight. She's engaged to a fighter named Pat Barry. And she's a really, really good strawweight fighter. But what a great interview. So, and I'm not just whoring the UFC podcast. If you happen to want to hear a really good interview tomorrow, download the episode, even if you don't like the UFC, because she's really interesting and insightful. And it's been like an interesting week of radio. You know, a lot of you guys know what happened. Opie and I had our disagreement. I mean, by and large, things are fine now. I don't know what's going to happen, to be honest. I just don't know. It was, I feel bad. I just hate to keep rehashing it. People know what the fight was about. And, me and DL are totally fine. So, I'll go over it if anybody wants me to. I've just, I don't know what to start. I don't want to bore people with details and all that stuff. So I guess we'll start. We got a phone call. Raphael in California. Hi, Raphael.
Hey, Jim. I love you, man. How are you?
I'm good, buddy. How are you?
I'm good. I'm not going to waste too much of your time. Yeah, Jim, quick question. I kind of have like a situation when I work with difficult coworkers. They make me feel uncomfortable. And, yeah, how do I fix that rapport with them?
Wait, you have new coworkers?
No, I'm the new guy. I'm like the Mexican guy at the office.
What kind of work are you doing?
Temp work right here, just random shit, like going out for like delivering newspapers, and like in between jobs. I'm a brown dude.
Okay, well, are you socially awkward?
No. I'm actually a bit of a conservative, and they kind of see that. And I say I'm like a pro-Donald Trump guy. I'm a Latino. They look like, hey, dude, are you a sellout or something?
Well, why do you mention politics? Do they ask you, or do you just kind of like the attention, the negative, or being like the anti-guy gets you?
Well, you know what, Jim? Since I'm a big fan of you, Opie, and Anthony, I'm a contrarian, so I kind of bring it up. The whole DNC shit going on.
Oh, okay. So you kind of like to throw a fucking monkey wrench in everybody's vibe of the moment or whatever.
Yeah, like, for example, Jim, yesterday, they had a black dude right there working with us, and I was quiet all morning.
Why were you quiet?
I don't know. I felt uncomfortable around
I was hoping that you would just reference what you were saying when you were calling. I wanted to see how you would. I know what you're doing. Since the moment you called in, I know exactly what you're doing. But I was hoping.
I know, Jim.
But what do you want to know? What do you want to know about the fight Opie and I had or whatever? Is there anything you want to know about?
Right.
I'll answer your question.
Yes. Okay, thank you, bud. I'm sorry for the bullshit. Okay, I listened to you guys all your life. You guys have helped me get over a lot of my anxieties and conflict mediation. I'm just surprised that, on Reddit, it's been stated that you guys been asked why you guys have been so quiet. And since you guys are great speakers and communicators, I'm surprised that you guys can't talk it out.
We did talk it out. We talked about it on the air today.
Oh, fuck. I'm like delayed here in California.
Yeah, we talk about it today. I mean, again, when those things are happening, sometimes, one thing about being a great communicator is there are times where I shut my mouth because I don't trust myself. And that's just not in radio. That's in life. Like, I've learned that being a great communicator doesn't mean that I'm never going to get angry and say really dumb shit. And some things that are self-destructive. So there are times like where I shut the fuck up. Like with DL yesterday, he and I are fine now. But during that interview, the reason I was quiet is because once he came in, I was not going to vacate the studio. And again, I was pissed off at him. I didn't have a hatred of him. It wasn't like a guy like I was like, violently angry at. And as he's talking, I'm not stupid. Like, I do know that what he's saying is compelling to a lot of people, and he's an interesting guy, and he's a smart guy. And I didn't want to jump in because I was just like not in the right headspace, and I didn't want to jump in for the wrong reasons. Like, I didn't want to jump in and start being arguing. Where did you go? Did he hang up? Oh, I didn't hang up on you, man, so I'm not sure where you are. But I'll answer your question anyway, because he's not on the line, but we did not hang up on him. So I didn't want to jump in and just start for the wrong reasons. I'm like, let them just do what they're doing, and, I'm fine just sitting there being quiet while it happens. And I never would have mentioned it if DL didn't say that I had been quiet. But again, that was why. And then Opie and I talked today, and I mentioned the porn girl. And some people on Twitter have it wrong. They're like, dude, porn girls add nothing. I'm not saying, dude, I want porn girls in twice a week. Sometimes they're really good, sometimes they're not good. But I'm saying is that we never have them in. And never. And you know what I mean? And to me, the lack of balance in the other way is kind of what frustrated me. But, people who are saying porn girls don't add anything, it's like, Jesus, once in a while you don't want one? So I got that on Twitter a little bit. Let's see here. Michael in Cleveland. Hi, Michael.
How's it going, Jimmy? Nice to talk to you.
How are you?
Not too bad at all. So I just got out of this relationship, and she was a little younger than me, but I thought things were going very well. And then she just pretty much ended up cheating on me.
Okay.
But it really did suck. But, I thought I had, like, a huge future, and now I'm, like, I'm still pretty young, 25. But, yeah, I'm over here just kind of depressed, trying to get back in the swing of things. And
how long were you with her?
I was with her for, like, a year.
And how'd you catch her cheating, and who'd she cheat with?
It was an ex-boyfriend, actually. And I caught her cheating because... there's one day, her phone just kept going off this one day, and I don't know, it made me crazy, and I did something stupid and opened it like a young kid would. And,
well, you aren't that stupid. You found something out, right?
Yeah.
It does suck, dude, but I'll say this. It's a lot harder, and I'm not making an excuse for her. Don't take it as personally. In this day and age, with the ease in which we can meet people and reach out, and with Facebook, it's so much easier to connect with people that I think staying faithful is a little harder because we're adapting to this instant communication with each other. So, dude, you just move on. It sucks that it happened, but you move on. You're a young guy.
All right, thanks, Jimmy. That actually helped me a little bit. I just wanted to hear some advice from you also. I'm a huge fan. Been
Thank you,
listening
buddy.
for a while, so thank you, Jimmy.
Okay. Sean in Pittsburgh, want to tell us something you don't like us about us as a radio host, or me? Sure, Sean, hi.
Hey, Jimmy, I love you as a stand-up, okay? I mean, you are crazy funny, and I've seen you twice in Pittsburgh.
Thank you.
Amazing. But here's a couple things that really, and I'm going to say this, and I don't want to fight with you. I just want to say this. These are some things that bothered me. I feel like sometimes and maybe it's because you're not married, because I know some of my not married friends that don't have children, you seem to be like a baby sometimes. And
in which
of course
way?
I don't know. Well, I mean, if we want to talk about yesterday, I don't know exactly everything. I don't know anything. I just know that DL stood you up. And I really enjoyed DL's side of things on the radio show, and I felt like when I heard that you didn't want to have him on because he stood you up for, not showing up for you, I know you were hurt, but I don't know that you should have used the radio show like that. And I have
hold on, Sean, let me address each point as you make them. I understand why you'd say that, but it wasn't just stood me up. This is the way I looked at it and why I felt that way. I love DL, and I'm the one who brought him to the radio show. Like, I loved having DL Hughley on. But when you're doing something like a professional project and you spend money on a studio, and, a guy who you've had in the show, our show is at least about having people on who we like. Part of that is about enjoying the people. We're friendly with the people. And then when he canceled last minute, kind of for the second day in a row, even though his people knew we had studio space that we had rented and they gave us a definite yes, and then he doesn't even reach out to me, I start to feel like, well, I'm just a jerk off for thinking this guy liked or respected me. And the radio show is a bit of a personal thing, so it wasn't a vendetta, but those things are in a way interconnected. So I wasn't being a baby about it. It wasn't like I said, hey, can you do this? And he said, no, I'm busy. And I went, well, you'll never be on the radio again. It wasn't like that. But I tend to, when we have people in the radio studio, I always kind of like if they reciprocate and have us on their shows. I don't think that's being unreasonable. But I didn't think I was being a baby about it because I felt like there was a reason for it. And if someone did that to you at your job and that was how you took it, would you be just as willing to help that person promote the next time? You start to feel silly after a while.
Well, of course you have a very valid point, but the point also is when Opie says that, he wanted you to step out, he knew exactly what he was saying. Now, he might have been beating around the bush on the phone today or yesterday, but he wanted the interview to go, and he wanted you. If you didn't want to do it, then don't do it.
Yes.
And that's as simple as that. And I kind of felt like that, too, because, ultimately, really the only person suffering is the listeners. And we'll move on from that.
No, hold on. I'll address Sean. One thing at a time. I'll address that too. When he said to step out, when you're given that quote unquote, when it feels like an ultimatum from the person you work with, when there's a legit reason for it, like when I feel like, hey man, I'm not like this with most guests. Okay, I push for more guests than I say no to. Believe me when I tell you that I push for more guests, and I brought almost all the comedians you hear on that show. I have brought to that show. I'm a comic who brings a lot of comedians onto the show. So it's only like 11, I'm bringing basically guys who would be competition for me onto the radio show. I've introduced almost all of them to the show. So I treat comedians particularly well. But when someone says to you, hey, I'm not going to change this and you can step out, and they give you that ultimatum, it's like, okay, well then I can't claim that we're in a partnership. And if occasionally the listeners will, because a lot of people were very annoyed at DL's interview yesterday too. But okay, I'll listen to your next point.
All right. Now I only have two more. I'm going to let people get on because I don't want to hold up everybody.
Okay.
Talk. But real quick with the second one, I just find your humor on the radio may not be for me.
Okay.
I feel that you and honest to God, Jim, I don't mean this to be mean or anything. It's me. It's probably me. I find that you rely on a lot of wordplay too much. And at first it's like, okay, it's funny, but after a while, and maybe that's the angle you're going for with all your characters too.
Yes, well, in some cases, sure.
I just feel like you're relying a lot on wordplay, and after a while it just really starts to turn me off. But,
okay.
That's just me. That's just me.
And, well, I can't really respond to that. I mean, if it's not for you, it's not for you. And what's your final point?
Okay, my final point is, I don't know where we're going to be in a couple months, but it just seems like we're not going to be where everybody wants it to be. That's all I know. I don't know if you know what's going on, and I know it's always the last second before the contracts are signed, but it just seems like, it's going to be Opie and maybe somebody else, which is sad for me and many, many listeners. Why?
That would make you very... Dude, if you don't enjoy me on the radio, that prospect should make you very happy.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying at times I feel like you rely on wordplay too much, and
okay,
and maybe you're going for that, to
sometimes, yeah. Sometimes wordplay is really stupid. So Chip enjoys doing it, yeah. But all right, well, I mean, look, you're entitled to feel how you want. I can counter a couple of the points, but that one is just a personal preference. I'm fine if you don't like that.
Okay, Jim. Thank you. Keep up the good work.
All right, Sean. Thank you. Let's see here. Kevin in Houston. Hi, Kev.
Bud, how's it going?
How are you?
Hey, good. Doing good, man. I'm sorry. I know DL's your friend and whatnot, but the point, I flipped the channel and he had compared the military's rules of engagement, or ROE, to what the police don't have. And I don't even remember it because it was so infuriating, so fucking retardedly stupid to even try to make that point in that comparison. So I had to change the channel. So I don't know what happened with you and Opie yesterday, but I wanted to see if you would explain a little bit more, but I think I've gotten the gist of it now.
Yeah, don't. The thing is, whenever you're talking about race and the police, and black and white, whenever the black guy, the white guy, the cop, the non-cop, the points that one side makes tends to infuriate the other side. Because because there's such a divide, and it makes people feel very defensive and very angry, even if that was a stupid point that he made, or even if that wasn't a valid point. I remember vaguely what he said about the rules of engagement are different. You can't just shoot people in Afghanistan as you can. What he's saying is that I'm guessing this is what he was saying, is that the military will investigate an illegal kill in a war zone and get harsher results than the police doing an illegal kill in the. That's what I'm guessing his point was.
Okay, now, but let me explain something to you now, because DL obviously has no fucking clue about law enforcement. My wife is a prosecutor. My brother is a captain. My sister-in-law is a captain.
Sure.
My other cousin, I couldn't tell you how many people in my immediate family are in active law enforcement. My wife is a criminal prosecutor that has sent multiple people to death row. Okay?
Okay.
If an officer's involved in a shooting, they are immediately put on administrative leave.
Yes.
And then that investigation is immediately turned over to internal affairs. It doesn't matter if it was a justified shooting or an unjustified shooting. It's still going to be investigated the same way. So to sit there and say that the military, that a person in the military is going to go through more scrutiny than a police officer would, it's fucking asinine. I
can only guess that he was speaking about maybe the results they get as well. Like, meaning the cops have rules and the military has rules. But maybe he feels that the results of the police investigations have gone one way all the time. I can't speak for him, and he's not here. I can only I'm just taking a stab at it from what I heard yesterday. So you can't debate me on what DL said, because I'm not DL. I'm Sweet Jim.
You made a good point and yesterday, and I applaud you, because I was flipping back and forth, that because of social media, everybody wants an immediate response and an immediate.
That wasn't me who made the point, but yeah, I think I remember that.
But that's where the court system and the law has to be played out.
It does, dude. Hold on, but it does, and I agree. But the law in the court system does not always do the right thing, and you know that.
I'm not saying it does.
It being played out, there's times where cops are justified in their shootings, and there's times when they're not. Like that guy running away in North Carolina or whatever, who was shot as he was running away by the guy. Mm-hmm. We have a tape of it so we can see how bad it is, but I would love to know what the angle would have been if there wasn't a tape of it. Or that guy in the cops screaming in that Facebook video, who I believe just panicked and shot that licensed gun owner while his girlfriend went on Facebook Live. I know you have to give, in most cases, the police the benefit of the doubt, but I think he panicked and shot this guy. And I think that whenever you talk about cops fucking up and killing someone, automatically everyone wants to defend all cops. And it's like, well, you can talk about individual cases without attacking all cops.
Well, DL was not doing that yesterday. DL was
maybe he wasn't.
Everybody together.
But DL is also a black guy who is looking at this. I'm not a cop and I'm not black, so I'm 0 for 2 in this argument. I can only speculate. But I've heard enough shit from black guys from all walks of life, and I've heard enough shit from cops to know that there is an absolute real problem between the two groups. There's an absolute, and it's not all coming from black guys, and it's not all coming from cops.
I agree with you, Jim, but if you look at these cases, there was a shooting about a week ago here in Houston where a crazy motherfucker waving a gun around in the middle of the street. Multiple people called 911. The 2 officers that arrived on the scene, they're yelling at him to put the weapon down. He turns towards them with the gun, and then he is shot and killed. Okay. And yet people are still...
I didn't cut you off.
The cops didn't have shot him because he just pointed a gun at them.
Yeah,
That's
look,
the fucking rationale now?
There are plenty of times where, like DL, I did hear him give the example about that Tamir, the young kid who I think had a fake gun, and the cop may not have panicked a little bit, but if you have a fake gun and somebody shoots you, it's like, well, it's hard for the cops to tell a real gun from a fake gun. So yeah, there's times where the knee-jerk reaction is against the police, and it shouldn't be. Sure, I gotta go because we got a lot of calls, man.
All right,
but I think what happens is both sides line up on their side of the debate, instead of realizing that a lot of times guys bring shootings on themselves, and there are times when the cops fuck up and overreact. And one thing he did say, which made, whenever Pat Lynch, who's the head of the New York PBA union, I believe, I never hear him go after cops unless it's so egregious that he cannot deny it. So I find him hard to believe a lot of the times. He's a good guy in that he stands by his officers, but then I hear times where it's like, Jesus fucking Christ, do you ever think they're wrong? All right. Thank you for the call, man. I appreciate it. Jared in Missouri. Missouri. Hello, sir.
Yes, sir. I'm wondering, do you think Opie's a little intimidated by you? You coming in and taking over his show, basically? You think that's kind of his power play?
You know, it's funny. I don't know if it's a power play. We talked after the show, and, neither one of us wanted to yap with Don Wicklund, but we had a very, very honest conversation. And it wasn't unpleasant. We talked about a lot of things that maybe we should have talked about years and years ago. But yeah, there is a bit of an uncomfortable thing. And again, I would like, I prefer Opie to talk about what his feelings are. It's not my place to say, this is what Opie said. But, not intimidated, no. Maybe a little uncomfortable. Like, sometimes maybe around different newer guys, or newer guys to the show, he might feel a little more comfortable, but, I don't know if it was a power play or just trying to feel comfortable. I don't really know.
Okay. All right. Well, I just feel he's intimidated. And you came in and you've pretty much changed the entire show since you've been there. So.
Do you mean the Opie and Anthony show?
Sure, it's completely different.
Well, don't forget, man. I came on in 2000. I mean,
correct. Yeah.
When I was on O&A, pretty much full time, they were only on in New York in the afternoon. I love when people, sometimes somebody who doesn't like me will go, dude, I remember listening and hating him. I hated Jimmy from the beginning, or I liked the show before he was on, and it turns out they were in Philly, and they listened once we got syndicated, and it's like, well, I got news for you. I was on the show before it was ever syndicated. So, if I changed it, it's such a long time ago, man. It's been that show for a long, long time.
All right. Well, I'd hate to see you go, and I'd hate to see it all break up. So let's hope that it all works out for you guys.
All right, we'll see. Hi, Ryan in Florida. Thank you for the call. Thanks, Jared.
How's it going, Jim?
Hey, man.
Hey, before I get to my question, are you ever going to bring back the car crash whenever somebody bombs on the air?
Wow, you know what, dude? It's funny you say that. I miss the sound effects. There are times where O&A together were so good with those. And I don't know why the car crash has gone by the wayside. I don't know. Was never discussed. It just kind of happened, and I really do miss that car crash a lot.
I miss it too. You need to bring it back. Anyway, my question is, me and my girlfriend broke up about a month ago, and we've kind of been talking, whatever. She was divorced, got out of a relationship, and now she wants to have an open relationship where we can go out and date everybody, but she thinks she wants to get back together with me. And I don't know if I'm comfortable doing that. I mean, right now I'm the only one she's sleeping with, but I know I want to get back together with her and make things work out, but I know she needs this. She's really introverted and I'm more extroverted, so what do you think?
Well, how long did you say you were together?
We were together only 6 months, but
Maybe she has, and she's divorced, right? You said she just got divorced?
yeah, she has a 3-year-old too.
Maybe she's been with one guy for so long and she doesn't want to go right back into that situation. Sometimes people get afraid of just going from one closed box to another one, so to speak, and they like the idea of the options being open. I mean, why couldn't you try that?
Well, I mean, I know what she wants to, I think she wants to get back together with me and whatnot. It's just her, I don't know, sharing her with somebody else.
Yeah, no, I know. Is she not fucking anybody, right?
No, not at the moment, just me.
Okay. And how long, you've been consistently fucking for 6 months and now she wants it open?
Yeah.
Well, maybe she met somebody, or maybe there's something going on there. Because if she's saying that for 6 months, after 6 months, maybe she just doesn't want to be in a committed relationship, or have the pressure of that so soon after a divorce.
You think I should? I'm going to keep my options open, but would you be able to share yourself or share your girl?
Yeah, that's really hard, dude. I mean, I've done that before, but it's very difficult to do. Again, if it's not for you, just say no, and then give her the option of leaving or staying.
All right.
You don't have to do it if you don't want to.
True. All right. Well, I appreciate your time, Jim. Thanks a lot. You rock.
Take care. New Jersey. Hello, John. Hello, number 5. Hey, buddy. Hello. Hey, John.
Hold on, let me take you off speak.
Yeah.
Jimmy!
Hey, buddy.
How you doing, man?
I'm good.
When will you have a show on Anthony's network?
You know, it's funny,
when
man.
Are you gonna do?
I'll be really honest with you. I don't know what I'm doing in October. There's advantages and disadvantages. I miss Anthony tremendously. That's the part that's easy. I miss Anthony a lot.
I love your camaraderie together. It's incredible. I love when you're on his show. It's great. I love it.
There are things about being serious that, believe it or not, I do love. You know what I mean? There is something about it. The growth potential for an audience is bigger there, only because it's a much bigger platform and it's an open platform in a different way. And for a stand-up, I do have to be concerned with that. I do have to think of that, so I don't know. I mean, it's a hard decision, because I do miss Anthony a lot. And I've said that consistently, from the beginning, and I'm not just saying that to say it. So I don't know what's going to happen, man. I had dinner with Ant and Keith recently, actually, but it was brief because I had to run over to the Comedy Cellar and get on stage. But I'll be sitting down with Anthony. Obviously, I mean, I have to.
I mean, don't get me wrong. You and you got a gig over there, but it does feel. I don't know, man. It's got a weird feel to it, like when I'm listening, and sometimes I have to turn it off.
I understand, and I understand that
it's making me feel uncomfortable. I'm changing the fucking channel, and I do.
Me and we had, like I said, me and Opie had a really, really good talk after. I wish that was on the air. Because Opie is weird, man. Like, there's times where Opie can be very tough. And I told him this. I'm not saying anything. I said that there was 2 versions. And when Opie is kind of insecure and guarded, he's very difficult to work with. But when he is comfortable, and like when he just comes in and he's confident and comfortable, I really do enjoy being around him a lot. Like, I really like working with him when he's like that, when he's fun and he's silly, and you can see it in his face, and he's feeling confident in himself. It's a weird thing, man. So, guys who don't like Opie, hey, look, he's not your taste. But as somebody who knows both of these guys intimately well, when I'm sitting down talking to Opie today after the show, and I'm like, this is the guy who I really like. This is my friend.
Yeah.
This is the guy who, when he's around his wife and kids, I enjoy him. This is the guy I've had dinner with 1,000 times. Like, you know what I mean? Whereas with Ant was more consistent, because Ant's not quite as crazy, but Ant has his demons too. Ant's got his fucking mania. It's just not the same as Opie's.
Well, it's true because everybody's not just like total like flip the switch and okay, I'm on the air, blah blah blah. Things come out, and there's sometimes you get the other person, and for whatever. I mean, human beings, and that's it. So yeah, I get it.
I really don't know. I mean, what's going to happen in October? I have certainly. He and I both know that we have a tremendous amount of differences, and I think that we want to do different shows in a way. And it's not, and I'm not sitting here saying, believe it or not, what he does is hard. I mean, for people who think, oh, he just pushes bar, me and Anthony are probably more similar in that we are, and I think I've said this on the air, so forgive me if I'm being boring, but we're reactionary people. We're counterpunchers. Rich Voss is a counterpuncher. Rich Voss is a heavy-hitting counterpuncher. Whereas when I see Anthony going through the stories, and he reminds me of me when I'm going through the stories, it's like where Anthony and I are most effective is when somebody else is kind of just guiding things and we're sitting there throwing punches, not at the guy, but at whatever story they're doing, boom, boom, with zero pressure. So, it's not an easy role to actually run the show and be funny during the show, because when I've done it, when Opie's out and Bob Kelly is in and Voss came in and one time and said something cunty to me and I got really annoyed at him, and I'm like, I'm just feeling a different kind of pressure today. So thank you for the call, man. I appreciate it. I just don't know what I'm going to do, and there are tremendous advantages to both, and I'm not being diplomatic by saying that. It's the truth.
Right. No, it's a tough decision, right? It's not. And
it also is my job too. Like, it really is my job. Like, my paycheck does matter to me, like anybody's does. I mean, I have to make a living. I'm a decent success as far as stand-up is concerned, but I'm not Bill Burr, man. I'm not fucking Louis C.K. I do well, but I'm not making, $100,000 a night. So I gotta be fucking, I do have to think of my options as well. All right.
Sure. Awesome. Are you going to be at Gotham?
Gotham Comedy Club?
Yeah.
In New York?
Yeah.
Now, I'm usually at the Comedy Cellar. I'll be at Gotham once in a while if there's a function or something, but normally I do the Cellar. But if you're from Australia, I am heading there soon, all right?
All right, man. Great talking to you.
Thanks, buddy. Let's see here. KG in New Mexico. Hello, KG. What are you in a fucking KGB or something? That's the wordplay humor the guy from Pittsburgh don't like.
I didn't even catch that one.
I was hilarious. You're going to laugh your balls off later.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, so I've been married for about 8 years now, Jimmy, and everything's been great. She's legitimately my best friend and everything. We get along fantastically, but over the past couple of years, there's been some big changes in my work. We've had to move across the country. I had to move for a pretty decently paying job. When we moved, she really got into smoking marijuana, and I guess her motivation level just went to shit. She started going to school, and she's been doing that, but she's not really doing anything to contribute as far as finances are concerned.
Do you guys have kids at all or no?
No kids, so that's good.
Well, let me ask you, and you say she's not fucking you, right?
Yeah, she's not doing that either.
Have you put weight on? I always ask, that's a standard question.
No, I'm in pretty good shape.
Okay, so it's not some physical thing that's obvious. And what did you say when you asked her?
I actually look better now than I did when we first met, so.
Okay. So what does she say when you ask her?
It's just a standard, I just don't feel like it tonight. I'm not feeling it. It seems like she's on her period 3 times, 3 weeks a month, all that kind of stuff.
Maybe she's depressed.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but I think that you have the right to want someone to contribute financially or to fuck you once in a while. And if she's your best friend, you should be able to say to her, like, look, I'm not trying to be a jerk. Don't say it in the moment, like when your dick is right at her back door. Usually you say that on the sofa when you're chatting, but I think you have every right to go, look, this is just not working. I think it's not right and it's not working. I think you have the right to want to get laid in a marriage, dude.
Yeah, well, the thing is I've had this conversation, and, it's gone to the, okay, you know what, we'll try, I'm going to get a job. And she does have a job at the moment, like right now, but not 2 hours ago, she called me and was talking about how she's going to quit at the end of the week. And she's only had this job for 3 weeks.
Why is she going to quit?
Because she doesn't like it. I mean,
so why doesn't she get a new job? Tell her, don't quit till you get another one lined up.
That's what Jimmy, God.
Yeah.
I'm just saying everything that I've told her. I mean, she just, she's a stubborn, hard-headed person.
Is she just lazy? Is she a lump?
Over the past couple of years, yeah, she's started to become kind of a lazy piece.
Not fucking you and not working? What does she want to do all day?
She likes marijuana and she likes Netflix, and she does work out. It's not like she's gotten fat and she's let herself go at all. I mean, we're both in good shape. We both go to the gym often, and
Sure.
it's not something like that. But I don't know. I don't know what it is, and I think, like you said, I think it's fair enough for me. I'm pretty much bringing in all the money. I don't want to throw it in her face and be like, I'm bringing in all the fucking money, so you better fuck me. But at some point, it's kind of like,
Well, you could say it without saying it like that. You could say, I'm bringing in the money, and you're not holding a job, and we're not having sex. I don't feel like you're doing your part. I don't feel like you're contributing equally to us being happy. Not like, hey, throw out your pussy right now. Or maybe you could just jerk off and come on the floor, and then when she walks by, point and go, that could have been yours. But I think that you're right to say, like, you're not doing your part to contribute to this working. I think that's fair, dude. She should be fucking you.
yeah. And she gets mad when I look at porn and if I jerk off.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. You should jerk off all the time. And when she said, what are you doing? You say, I'm going to jerk off.
Yeah, well, I guess that would be a way to go about it.
All right, good luck, buddy.
Thanks, man.
Take care. Brian in Texas. Hi, Brian.
Hey, Jim. I think I've heard you talk about self-sabotage before, I'm seeing this girl. I think we're dating. It's very new, and no real conversations have happened about labeling anything. But I noticed that I get into this mindset of like, all right, I haven't heard from her in a couple of days or a week, therefore it's over. And it's troubling, because then it just gets that gets put away, the moment I hear from her or get a text from her. And then I don't want to be groveling all the time, being like, where are we? What's our status? But it's a weird spot to be in, and I've never been in it before.
Yeah, and is it that you're getting comfortable with that feeling in the pit of your stomach? Like, have you been dumped by girls or been cheated on?
Totally. My 4 of my most meaningful relationships all ended with, them, betraying the relationship and sleeping with somebody else.
Okay, so it could be either A, you deep down seek women out. I notice that a lot of times I like feeling that pit in my stomach to my neck, that tension that something is wrong, that chemical release that happens in your stomach and in your chest. Sometimes that can be addicting. And they say in 12 steps, they say that we get a misshapen pleasure out of feeling bad. There's a weird security blanket in feeling bad. It's comfortable. It's like a stink. So maybe you got to realize, I farted as I said that. Maybe you have to realize that you are seeking this stuff out. Or stop with that pattern. Maybe it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Stop with that fucking pattern. Stop saying to yourself, like, hey, this is going to go bad, and realize that people have lives that they live that at times don't include you. They have other things they do. And her including someone else doesn't mean that she's unincluding you. Do you know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah, and I've done the same thing where, I've been in situations where, it's just sort of like that unevenness where I feel like I like her so much more than she likes me.
Sure, but
and then I've been in situations where, yeah, and then I've been in situations where girls have always, liked me more than I them. And so I've been able to say, look, I'm going to go hang out with my friends. Some of them are girls, but that doesn't necessarily mean we're going to make out at the end of the night. I'm just hanging out with friends. And I lose sight of that when when it's switched, when it's flip-flopped.
Sure, of course. Yeah, I definitely understand that. It's a double set of rules. And a lot of it is ego. We want people to be around and accessible to us at all times. And when we're not, instead of just realizing, hey, I'm not going to get what I want, we fill in the blanks of the relationship by making it this big negative storyline.
Do you find you're better outside of a relationship when you're not even thinking about, participating in a relationship, when you're just totally, completely single?
Yeah, a lot of times. But I kind of miss a relationship at this point. I do enjoy. There's certain things about it that I really like. I got to jump on it because I got a bunch of calls, but I appreciate that, and I certainly understand what you're talking about. I would say just try to catch yourself and make sure that you're not just comparing her to other girls in the past. You know what I mean? Because maybe you're comfortable with that shitty feeling and almost trying to make it happen.
Cool, man. I appreciate it.
Goodbye, mister. Another Brian. Brian in Tampa. Hello.
Hey, Jim. How are you, sir?
How are you?
I'm doing well. Hey, before I get to some of the things I wanted to chat, just quickly, the last 2 phone calls, and I'm not Dr. Phil by any stretch of the imagination, but a lot of their problems, if they listen to one of the old episodes of Black Phillip from Patrice O'Neill, really can get them a little leg up on how to handle some of the problems that they're having, which is more about confidence and just being a man versus just groveling and just wondering about what the women are doing.
Yeah, he was really good, man. And Dante actually knows what he's doing, too, Dante Nero. So, yeah.
Yeah, I've heard those guys, and they really are, even though they say it in a certain way, but behind the scenes, it really makes a lot of sense in terms of stepping up and being confident and being willing to put the rules down. That aside, I've been an avid listener for a very, very long time. I'm still listening to you guys now, and a lot of the callers are kind of saying, I'm saying a lot of the same things in terms of their feelings. I feel that you and Anthony have a much stronger connection and chemistry. Opie, to me, seems like this has become a male version of The View, where, and I'm not trying to knock him, but hear me out. He apologizes so frequently. It seems like he's walking on, pins and needles. He doesn't want to offend anybody, where you're right. When he has the controls and you and Anthony or just yourself can kick back and throw these left and right hooks out of nowhere, it's much more fun. But for me, it looks like he's taken the fun out of it by making it so straight and narrowed and straight edge, if you know what I mean, where he seems uncomfortable trying to be. Yeah, he does, and it's noticeable, Jim.
Well, in fairness, I'll say this for Opie, too. I am also very uncomfortable in my own skin. He and I had such a good talk after. It really was very, very enlightening. Sometimes you talk to a guy who you're mad at, and I thought we had a really good show today, and the after show fights are always good. It's after fight shows. So it's like fucking. But, he is uncomfortable, but so am I. And I don't mean just with Greg Opie Hughes or with Anthony Cumia, but I mean with me. I'm uncomfortable all the fucking time, dude. And I've been talking about this. I realized recently that I am always uncomfortable in my own skin. Whether I'm acting, whether I am just talking to people. Sometimes the only freedom I feel is when I'm going back and forth with comedians or I'm on the radio and it's moving so fast that there's no time for me to think.
But Jim, but the fact is that, and I'll let you, and I know you got a lot of calls, so I won't take up the time. You are, God, piece of garbage. The situation is you're honest about it. You're telling us the honesty, and of course we can't look behind the curtain and see everything that goes on. But if you, I'm going to speak for myself. If you leave Sirius or you leave Opie and you're not on your own show, I'm not listening anymore because you make the show fun and spirited and you come out with an angle that people really enjoy. If I want to watch The View or listen to The View, then that's what I'll do. But Opie is really, and I'm not, again, I don't want to bash him, but Opie seems to be taking more of a straight-edged approach than he used to. And that's not what the listeners really want, I don't think.
Maybe he, okay, pal, you too. I think, like he said, he might be more comfortable with other guys who come in, maybe there's just more of a relaxed feel and a sillier free flow with guys who are thinking more like he's thinking, because he and I might think very differently. But the reason I'm able to be honest with it is Opie's not a stand-up, I'm a stand-up, and there's a certain thing I've done in stand-up where I always address what's wrong immediately because it's how I would win over audiences sometimes or stop a bad set. So I kind of got trained, and also, again, I go to a 12-step program. There's a lot of self-examination and talking about it. So I've had a tremendous training round in 2 different areas with that. So it's just been ingrained in me for so many fucking years to do that. I just kind of do it. Bobby in Long Island. Hi, Bobby.
Hey, Jimmy, what's happening, man? Big fan.
Hello, thank you.
I had a question real quick. If you've heard any of the Fighter and the Kid podcasts, they kind of take little jabs at you and Sarah.
It's funny. No, I've never heard them take jabs at me and Sarah. What have they said? I've never heard the podcast.
Well, they've kind of like subtly insinuate that, like, you know, Dana kind of ripped off their idea with having a fighter and a comic, and, you know, that they're the original and all this kind of stuff. But I don't know. Maybe it's just because I listen to all of them. I haven't heard that. If anybody is implying that I stole anything, I wish they can come out and say Jim Norton stole it, and then I'll address it. But, you know, if their issue is with Dana, you know, you have to think when you're doing a podcast. Comedians have been involved with podcasting for a long time. Like, right. If you're going to have, let's just say the UFC is doing a podcast. If they put two fighters together, are they ripping off ESPN, or are they ripping off this other thing? Oh, no, that's okay. So if they put a fighter and a comedian together, they're stealing. You know what I mean? I just... Right. It's not. Hold on. It's not a unique enough combination, and I'm not saying anything against them. It's just simply comedians tend to do good radio. Fighters who can be great commentators, I think they might want to balance with somebody silly. So to me, it just seems like a natural marriage. But if anybody thinks I stole anything, I would prefer they address it directly, and I'll certainly respond. Right, yeah, I think, I mean, they're two totally different kind of shows than you and Matt and Fighter and the Kid. Yeah,
I like Brian, but if he, you know, I don't know him that well, but I've always liked him, but if he doesn't feel the same, then I guess it will come out on the podcast. And Brendan, I don't know.
Yeah, I think, like I said, the two shows are vastly different. You know, they can both exist and have the same listeners, I think. But.
Of course they can. I mean... Just because one's a comedian and one is an ex-fighter, it's like, it's so what? If you like the show, you like the show. Just two comedians wouldn't necessarily make a better show. Two fighters wouldn't necessarily make a better show. How about Luis Gomez and Michael Bisping? They do a show together, which I've heard only because I've been on it once and it was good. So yeah, no, we didn't steal the idea. It's just silly, dude. I'm not obsessed with I was the first or this was the first or, you know. I mean, come on. How many radio shows have comics come on? Jesus Christ. There's no original combinations anymore. If it was, you know, the boxer and the chef, okay. That I would understand. You know, if it was a combination that you never see, but comedians are on everything radio. It's a very common thing. But I appreciate you listening, man. And listen to both. I don't care.
Yeah, the Ellis thing was cool too, man. Nice to see the, you know, especially after he kind of motherfucked you guys a couple years ago. So
yeah, I didn't say he never motherfucked me personally, and I kind of understood that, and it was what it was. But I like Jason.
Cool. Well, thanks.
All right, Bobby, and oh no, you are Bobby. I was going to get to an important one. Logan in Minneapolis. Hello, or Minnesota.
Hey, Jimmy. I'm only asking because I believe you are a knowledgeable source. How do I get my girl to eat my ass?
The next time she says I'm hungry, just stand up and shove it in her face. Say, munch on this. No? Okay. How about only give her foods that look like asses? Like give her a honeydew melon with a mushroom in the middle of it. tell her to get used to that. Well, first of all, make sure your ass is clean. Make sure you shower. One trick is this. If, like, say you're on the sofa and she's kneeling, sucking your cock, licking your balls, tell her, lick under my balls. Don't say lick my ass, because that might freak her out. Say, lick under my balls. And then when she does, just you arch your little tootsies up a little bit and move your hiney towards her mouth. She might not do it the first time, but eventually she will do it. Just kind of push your hips up a little bit, but do it real slowly, okay?
Almost dead, yeah.
All right. Good luck. I'm going to answer one Twitter question. Why is my stand-up not on Netflix? That was a Viacom deal with Hulu. Had nothing to do with me. My last three specials, Please Be Offended, American Degenerate, and Textually Inadequate, were all done through Epix, and they had a distribution deal to go to Netflix. But then Viacom, who owns Epix, changed their deal to be with Hulu, so it was beyond my control. Chad in Iowa. Hello. Idaho, sorry.
Hey, what's going on, Jimmy?
Hey, Chad.
Hey, buddy. Hey, I just wanted to tell you that out of all the comedians that you've brought onto the show, I have to say all of them have been great. But the chemistry that Sherrod brings to the show and the way that you and him kind of play off of each other is freaking hilarious. And to hear, he reminds me of an old buddy of mine that actually passed away, but that's how him and I used to act in like TV other and laugh. Hearing Sherrod laugh is awesome. And I was wondering, with that being said, do you feel that chemistry with him is like really that good, or are you guys just really good buddies, or like I don't know.
Both. I know Sherrod for close to 17 years. So we've had a chemistry just from knowing each other for so many years in the Comedy Cellar. It's a different thing with the comedians I've been hanging out with for all these years. I love Sherrod. I love hanging out with him. I know a lot of the fans give him a hard time, but I genuinely enjoy him, man, and I like him so much as a person too. So I always enjoy when he comes in. But again, the chemistry I never even thought about. We just hang out and we talk. I got to jump, buddy, because I got 1 minute left. Okay.
All right. Later, man.
Real quick, last one. Brian in Chicago, question about the DL interview. Just shoot, buddy, because I got to wrap up very fast.
Hey, Jimmy, man, I love you on the radio and your show. But the part that bothers me is when these people are talking about the things that happen, with these people getting shot. The guy pulled over 57 times up in Minnesota. You think, for God's sake, the guy would use his head and take care of the things with his car. You know what I mean? I grew up in Chicago. We got pulled over if there was more than 2 years in the car every single night. Got pulled over, you got frisked all the time. It was annoying. It truly was. But you learn, you act differently when these things happen. I had a gun put to the back of my head. I thought that I was running around with a gun. So I got there to sit there and talk about it. But you have to freaking play by the rules that are in front of you. You can't try and fight a cop. That's ridiculous. You know what I mean?
No, you do. But the thing is, whenever race is mentioned, Patrice once said, I never met a racist. Nobody admits being a racist. And there are cops who are racist, and there are non-cops who are racist. But for some reason, whenever we talk about racism, this is my stupid take on racism. Black people tend to see it a little more than they should, and they see it in moments where it is not there. White people don't see it as much as we should. And I think that there are moments where it's there, and we just try to find excuses why it's anything but. Like, I don't know why we've got this inability to just kind of confront it fairly. You know what I mean? We have such different views on it. So hopefully that will get better. But I think that's what goes into a lot of these conversations. That's my point. I got to jump, buddy, not to cut you off, but I got 5 other calls, and I'm already over, okay?
Love you, buddy, man. Take care.
All right, thanks, Brian. He didn't need to say he was from here. Hey, Brian from Chicago. Tough acting, 10 acting. All right, guys, thanks a lot, and I'll see you tomorrow morning.
Thanks for listening to The Jim Norton Show. Hear all that advice whenever you want to on demand at SiriusXM.com/on-demand. On SiriusXM is real.